Stephen, it was I suppose a classic tale of two halves today, wasn't it? First half disappointing, second half much better, but in the end you just gave yourself too much of a mountain to climb.
We did. We looked a little bit overwhelmed in the first half, and we lacked a little bit of belief. Sometimes that can come from a little bit of fatigue. We played Tuesday and they played Monday. Whether it's an extra 24 hours, I don't know, but the pitch is quite big, it's quite heavy. We just looked a little bit leg weary as well, and sometimes it looks as if you're lacking self-belief, but you just can't get there. Then you see the second half performance when we had a little bit of a go at them at half time. It wasn't even footballing ability, it was more just about the challenges that face you of being physical, having the willingness to go and run, to go and compete, to go body to body, to go and win headers. The basic stuff you need to compete in football, particularly against the bigger sides and the so-called better players. Initially you have to close that gap in quality by hard work and determination and desire. And I don't question them very often, but the first half they looked a little bit feeling sorry for themselves, and we're always a yard away from where they wanted to be. So we almost said at half time, it wasn't forget the result, but it was almost how can we improve, how can we push on. There wasn't too much focus on the negative side, it was more on what we can do in the second half and how we can impose ourselves in the game. So I think the early goal just after half time kind of gives you a little bit of belief with Jake. Making contact, rolling his player, getting brought down for a penalty, all the stuff that we expect of them. They didn't do in the first half, they did in the second half. So, I wouldn't say I'm pleased, but I'm certainly happier with the second half performance than I was the first half.
You mentioned the first half and you mentioned being overwhelmed slightly. Was that, I suppose, a combination of that, but also individual maybe mistakes and errors? Ones, again, that I suppose are common in young teams and under-20s features, but not so much your side in the last 6 months or so.
Yeah, well, it's mistakes which we haven't seen. David trying to play a blind pass across the 18-yard box. Barry falling over when he's not under any pressure. James for the third goal trying to flick it with the outside of his foot. You sound like you're repeating yourself all the time, but listen, that's where we are. Young players are going to make mistakes, so we have to work from it. But I said against the better sides, they punish you more. And if you move on to first team level, it's the exact same. Other teams in the league might not have scored from us giving the ball away in certain areas of the pitch, but against Celtic they do. And again, that's the learning curve from it. They can take the game away from you very quickly. So a lot of it was giving up cheap passes, getting caught in possession. Sometimes it's just receiving the ball in the wrong way, which we continually speak about, what we always want to do. So it was unlike us, definitely was unlike us. But when you ask questions of young players and you put it to them, you expect a response. And we got that in the second half. Is it something we can work with moving forward? It is, but we put the first half performance away. We remind them every now and again of why and how it happened. We focus on the second half and all the positives and how we can replicate that more often than not.
And let's talk about some of those positives. I know he's not one of your players, but Elliot Frear made his first real appearance in a Motherwell jersey for any significant amount of time, and absolutely terrific. I thought today. What was your thoughts about how he contributed?
Well, you said it exactly there. A first real performance. Well, I thought it was electric. I said to him after the game, and it's interesting. It's good when you have the likes of young Jake Hasty, and then I'm saying to Jake, Elliot's 26 and you're 17. When you get to 26, that's what you have to be. You have the potential to be what Elliot was tonight, which is electrifying when you land on the ball. There's a buzz certainly about me when he picks the ball up and he runs at people. He's got pace, he's direct, he's got an end product. He looks as if he can score goals, he can take men on. So, without bigging him up too much, I think he's going to be a world beater. But we have to put in context he was playing an under-20 football, but these under-20s, Calvin Miller, who he played against at left back, Calvin's plays for Celtic's first team. And at times when Ali got at him, he couldn't cope with him. So he's exciting. He certainly is. Is it what we've needed on the left-hand side of our first team? Probably is. Probably a little bit of balance. I think Mark will go away tonight being pleased with what he's seen. Elliot can be pleased with his night's work. And again, a great experience for the young players to see a senior player coming in and applying himself and actually wanting to do it and encouraging him during the game and talking to him at half-time. But by doing his talking with the ball and when he landed on it, I thought it was excellent. And I must mention Joe. I thought Joe coming in, it's difficult playing centre half when you don't normally play there. I thought he was calm, he was composed, he organised the back four. Not a fault for any of the goals. I just felt this distribution of the game, was excellent. So it's always nice to play credit to the senior players when they come in.
And another positive, I suppose, and it's something you'll not need reminded about your side, is the character they showed in that second half. Because at 3-0 it'd be very easy to put the tools away. You got into them at half time, they scored an early goal, got another one back. Did you feel at 3-2, another comeback, son?
Well, there's always the threat of them coming along and nicking the goal, which that's the risk we had to take. But Elliot's hit the side net, and there's been another couple of corners come in. The goalie's had a couple of little spills here and there. So, listen, I love their character, but I'd rather not have to speak about it every week. It'd be nice to go in front of the game and actually just go and see a game out. But that's the way the game transpired. Did they show character? Yes. Did I love seeing it? It was great. And all they need is a little bit of encouragement. All they need is a little bit of encouragement. They got that at the start of the second half with a goal, and you could see belief growing. You could see them getting together a little bit more. They have to start that way. We haven't really had to question them very often this season. But again, with regards to the learning curve, when you play against good sides and good players, you can't give teams too much of a lead, or there's no way back.
Speaking of learning curves, 2 defeats in a row for you now, which is very unusual for the 20s this week. But I suppose from a coach's point of view, you'll also, when it's about teaching the game, you'll be able to use that to your advantage in a way, show them things on, and from an analysis point of view, demonstrate how they can improve. So sometimes at this level, defeats can actually work in your favour too.
Well, sometimes when you win a game, you kind of gloss over what might have went wrong, and you tend not to look at it and think, well, we don't need to analyse that a little bit more. Maybe defeats maybe analysed too much. But I certainly think if we'd get rid of our individual errors tonight, we would have been probably more competitive, because once they go 2-0 up, then they get, their tails are up and they're pushing on. Ross Clarkson will have a long weekend. He's gonna sit and tag the game for me, so we can come in on Monday morning and sit and have meetings with him and go through it with him, and we'll never stop doing that, because it is a bit of a learning curve, and it's not about winning 20s games. It's about getting them into the first team. And have we seen enough potential in the first 7 months of the season to think they can get into the first team? Yeah, we do. But there's always little reminders for them to think, I didn't do well enough, or I could have improved on that. So we'll always check on that and keep in touch with everything, with regards to that.
Stephen, thank you.
Cheers.